whatever happens, we're going up there to get them. So we look back at our commandos. Hey man, follow us. We're going up. And we took off. Look back, and it's just Seth and I, obviously.
No commandos.
Commandos decided to do what they were doing. They didn't want to help. We make our way to this village. We have about 100 Afghan commandos, and my team's a 12-man team. We're beefed up a little bit to do the mission. We have a combat controller, combat caravan, some things like that. As we make our way to the village, our lead element maneuvers up to the high ground. So they make their way up to the village. So we have to climb basically the side of this mountain to get up to where we're going. I'll leave the tactical and strategic decision making on why we infilled the way we did out. It just is what it is. It was not a good idea, but we did it, right? Because that was the mission. So we had built a low ground. We're assaulting up a mountain. I wouldn't teach anybody to do this, but it is what it is. So that happens. About the time our lead element gets to the mouth of the village, the whole valley erupts. And I am down in the valley with my team sergeant, our medic, Ron, and a bunch of commandos and stuff. Like, we each have our own squad and everything. Immediately we get notified that Dylan Bear had been shot. So he's in the middle of the element, about halfway up the cliff, or halfway up the mountain. He was shot in the hip. So we only had one medic on the team at the time. That was Ron. Scott calls him up. It's like, hey, Ron, we got to go. I decided, I'm still not 100% sure why. I think I got a relative FOMO situation. I was like, I'm coming with you. I'm not staying down here. This sucks. But in all seriousness, I had the heavy weapons squad with me. That was who I was tasked with for the day. So I was like, I'll at least bring some firepower up there. So we set off up to where these guys were injured. By the time we got in there, Luis Morales had been shot as well. So we had a serious problem on our hands at this point, right? These guys have been pinned down pretty well. The enemy was maneuvering on them the whole time, and really hammered them pretty hard. So we had a killed interpreter, some wounded commandos, and 2 injured Americans at the same location.
Which really becomes the priority in our minds in these situations. We're in a firefight, but we also are trying to save lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at that point with 2 casualties, the mindset is still the mission. Yeah. And that's one of these hard logical leaps that you have to make in a VUCA environment. It's like, what are we doing? And you can't get sucked into the fact that 2 of your really good friends, they've really grown to be actual friends with, right? It's been a small time, but we've done a lot of shit together. Are laying there bleeding out, and you got one guy that's capable of working on him. He's directing traffic the best that he can, and decide what we're going to do. And the team sergeant, so Scott, Kyle Walton, and I had that actual conversation. Like, okay, looking at the situation, it's a conversation in a place and time that I'll never actually forget. I was literally the 3 of us standing there like, all right, what's the deal? How are we going to handle this? And we settled on continuing the mission. Like, we have to get to the village. If we don't, we're kind of screwed. So the plan is we're going to move the village, establish a foothold, move the casualties in there, give Ron some time to actually treat these guys and, move on, like try to fight our way through, just use kind of our superior tactics and firepower to move through. So I moved down to call up some other reinforcements to help us out. By the time I did that, Scott got shot, John Walden got shot, and so now we're up to 4 casualties in the same location. So team sergeant got shot in the chest, in the arm. John got hit in the leg, and basically amputated his lower leg immediately. So now we're back to 4 wounded guys in the same location, really no bigger than this room. Very minimal cover, and the enemy obviously, knows the situation now. They know where we're at. They know what they've got going on. So things really start to change. Right now, you're really like, okay, what are we doing? Like, what are we actually here? And that's one of the hardest parts to figure out at that point. Like, who's taking charge, right? Our team sergeant's laying later. He's out. A lot of our senior guys are out. the captain's there, he's directing traffic. Our JTAC's up there, he's doing what he's doing, directing traffic, dropping bombs. But the situation is not looking very good, obviously. So, long story short, when I found out they were wounded, I climbed back up to their location. Scott's able to move because he's shot in the arm and the chest plate. So we decided we're going to move him down. There's a little building at the bottom of the cliff. We'll put him down there, and then we've got to move the rest of these casualties. Basically, it comes into a casevac situation. We don't have the firepower or the manpower to move to the village anymore. So I stepped back down from their location with Scott. I passed him off, and the other Bravo and I have another conversation. Like, all right, here's the deal. Like, these guys are up there. We're here. We need to move them. We lost comms with them for a while. So now it's 2 junior Bravos on the side of the cliff figuring out what we're going to do. Obviously some time had passed. We hadn't heard from them. So we kind of assumed the worst. And Seth and I, again, another conversation always. Remember, we had a conversation about it. Like, okay, we kind of feared the worst, right? We assumed they'd just been shot up out of, we weren't sure, but we're like, they're coming down. Like, whatever happens, we're going up there to get them. So we look back at our commandos. Hey, man, follow us. We're going up. And we took off. Look back, and it's just Seth and I, obviously.
No commandos.
Commandos decided to do what they were doing. They didn't want to help. But that's part of the gig, right? So we're fortunate enough to make our way. We kind of climb this cliff. We scale this cliff kind of laterally to get to where they're going, because we can't go up the same way that I've been up there to the previous times. We get around to where they are. Unfortunately, everybody's still there. They just lost comms. We were able to help them get comms back up, and evacuate the guys outside the cliff. During that time, our JTAC and medic both, the two most impressive things I've seen was our JTAC, young guy too, his first deployment, just dropping bombs like you wouldn't believe. Just pinpointing 500-pound bombs, 2,000-pound bombs, danger close, like things that we talk about testing stress and the ability to work under a stressful environment, like things that would stress somebody out to do normally, he was able to do. And then Ron, still a true testament to what an 18 Delta is. Like, we haven't really talked about 18 Deltas today because we don't really handle them much. They're their own group, but the most highly trained trauma medics, trauma capable human beings on the planet are our 18 Deltas, and I got to see that firsthand with what Ron did. I mean, he literally kept 4 guys alive, 2 of which for sure should be dead. But fortunately, he was pretty good at the job, and then handled stress in a way I've never seen anybody handle it before. Right? He had the most stressful situation you could imagine. He had 4 guys' lives in his hands, literally. Right? And there was never a hiccup, never a concern. He took a couple rounds off the helmet. It didn't matter. Like, he's there plugging holes, directing traffic. He's got a combat cameraman that was carrying a camera 20 minutes ago until he got shot. Putting tourniquets on people and treating wounds and doing things that this kid had never, been trained to do either. Which again is just a testament to the force multiplication nature of a Green Beret, in my opinion. Something that I got to witness firsthand, which is holistically incredible. So long story short, we were able to evacuate these guys and make our way out of the village. At the end of the day, the team was awarded, there was 10 Silver Stars given out, an Air Force Cross. Combat Chairman got a Silver Star. Pretty impressive. And then, fast forward 10 years later, Ron and I were both awarded or upgraded to the Medal of Honor, which leads me to where I am today, right? It's allowed me the opportunity to continue to serve in the regiment, and the Army found it fitting enough to let me come back to here, where it all started, 18 years ago, roughly. But get back to your question of a VUCA environment, right? Like, this is what we started talking about. Was that, right? That was not just me. It was I got to see this as a bystander almost, got to see this ODA who was extremely highly trained, who spent a ton of time and effort making sure that they were prepared to go conduct this mission, faced with the most audacious environment that we'd seen to that time, and every single person on the team did exactly what they could or should have done in the situation that they were given. And it was an inherent trust and ability we had as a team to operate in this, environment, this spook environment that you mentioned, for us to be successful, or we 100% would not. And there would have been a lot of dead people, probably a search and rescue type situation had that gone any other way. And it's not one person, it wasn't really two people, it was a team. It was an ODA capable of handling their own dynamic, complex environment to come together as a team to be as successful as we possibly could have been in that worst situation that we've seen until that point.
I mean, it's the definition of everything we talked about today.
Right.
How you prepare today determines success tomorrow. Taking people of character, training them to a defined standard, never wavering on that standard. And then when everything goes wrong and you're in that VUCA environment, do we have the mental and physical fortitude and toughness to make critical, difficult decisions and take action?
Right.
Thank you.
If I can.
Seriously, I mean that. So from...
I appreciate the chance to get to talk about it, right? Because it is important in that way. I think that the story of our ODA at the time, is a shining example of what an ODA is capable of doing. A small 12-man team that's able to take the things that they've been trained in and adapt those things. And at the end of the day, boil it down to something we talked about a long time ago on this podcast, was teamwork, right? That's what it was. At the end of the day, it's teamwork and your ability to adapt and overcome and be resilient. And those are the things that we need out of people and we look for every day here.
What do you tell the E5 who comes in and looks up to you and says, what's next for me?
That's a good question. I mean, it's an interesting position to be in. I don't highlight that fact. To me,
but they know. They better. Let's put it that way.
I guess some of them will find out maybe here in a little while when this comes out. But no, I'm the CS in the 4th Battalion SWIC, right? And that's my job, my purpose. Other things have happened in my career. That's great. But that's true for everybody. And I don't shy from that responsibility of having the medal. I understand fully what it means, what it represents, and I'm eternally grateful for that. But I also don't want to separate the fact that I am the Command Sergeant Major 4th Battalion SWIC, but I am by far no better than any of the cadre that work for us at all. Like, we have some of the greatest cadre in the world. Our company leadership, our committee leadership, and down to the men that teach these dudes every single day that run the Special Forces Preparation course to make these guys physically and mentally resilient enough to go tackle the qualification course, are the ones that these guys should be looking up to, because they are their teammates in the future, right? I've spent my time here, and I'm eternally grateful for everything I've experienced. But at the end of the day, I'm a figurehead. I'm a battalion CSM, right? Somebody that nobody wants to talk to and nobody wants to be friends with. And that's just is what it is,
Humility is one of the characteristics that we assess for too. So I appreciate that.